This episode of WoW Weekly is brought to you by WoWweekly.net, your source for Warcraft and Blizzard news, guides, and editorials.
This week in Warcraft, Highmaul goes live on both normal and heroic mode, and that's pretty much it because that's what we're going to talk about. Welcome to our weekly episode number 55, I believe. Could be 45. Sorry, 54. Anyway, welcome. This week I'm joined by Matt. How are you, Matt?
I'm alright, cheers. How are you?
Tired. It's been a long week, but most of the raid guides have been released now, so soon my 14 hours working per day will be over.
Yay!
Yay! I'll be able to sleep some more. Also joining us is LJ. Welcome back, LJ.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So, Highmaul.
Yes,
Yeah.
Highmaul.
It's been pretty good, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's a bit.
Not too bad, no.
It's a bit. Here we are. We're all trying to get our words sorted.
Yes.
What are we going to say about the raid?
Yes.
How are we
because-
going to do it?
I mean,
I've
there's
enjoyed
bosses with tactics, and you kill them. I mean,
Yeah.
that's welcome to raiding.
Yeah, it is. I've enjoyed it. It is a good starter raid from what we've done so far. All the fights seem relatively different. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I quite like the fact you've already got a DPS check straight away.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
In the second boss, and I don't know if you want to just do it as a way as
Oh,
talk for each boss and that malarkey.
Sure, I mean, our boss-by-boss analysis when we did Orgrimmar wasn't always that successful, I believe, but...
That was also because I didn't raid that much back then, but now
Yes.
I'm back, so...
It's
And that-
true, it was all
that
your
also
fault.
means that
It was all
Orgrimmar
my
was
fault. It's
crap.
okay, I'll take that. Sorry, what?
Yeah,
That also Orgrimmar was crap.
it was. It really
First
was.
fight, Immersius. Second fight. Well, I can't even remember what the second fight was now. It's out of my mind.
Three
That.
Watchers.
Protectors.
I don't care.
Okay, so don't mention them then. So, we start off in the Highmaul Arena, which is pretty cool, and we fight Kargoth Bladefist, the first warlord. First encounter is already one of the warlords. Okay, sure, why not? I mean, we've killed warlords in 5-man heroics, so why not the first boss right away? It's pretty much a tank and spank, but it already has some mechanics to make you move and not really just stand and do your thing.
Yeah, I think that's the vibe from what I've got from the entire dungeon so far. Is some places have fights where you run from one spot, stack in that spot, running one spot, stack in that spot, and a lot of fights. I think Butcher is very much like that. But in this, it is pretty much every single boss has certain mechanics that make you have to move and make you have to sort of think a little bit more. So, and I like that fight. It's a good one to start you off, a good one to get you going, and it's a good one to prepare you for the rest of the dungeon.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because one of his abilities is a charge and he targets a player, and like half of the bosses in Highmaul has a charge.
That targets a player.
That targets a player that has to be kited or you have to move from, so it's a good introduction for those that haven't rated it as well, because new expansion, so it means new people are going to get into raiding who haven't done it before. Which means the first raid tier is going to have to be simpler, I would say, compared to the next raiding tiers, because it has to be an introduction to raiding for those players. I mean, we do have normal mode now and LFR, so in that sense, they can learn from that.
But still, if you compare this, I don't know if LJ can come into this as well.
I can't because I haven't done Kargoth or the Butcher yet, so I mean, I've seen vids and such about them, but I came in later, so I'll start talking again when we reach Texas.
You have, of course, watched our WoW Weekly rating guides over at WoWweekly.net, haven't you?
Of course. Yes, of course.
Oh, God. Not a plug. That wasn't a plug at all.
No.
At all.
But no, it's... the whole place is a start-off dungeon, and I'm only putting this based on a start-off dungeon. Is probably taking it up a notch on previous start-off places, because a lot of the other start-up places, I'm trying to figure out what. Okay, Mop, you had Moxon Vaults, where there was a couple more mechanics, but a lot of the start-up ones, this does seem quite
high up there.
Yeah, high up there. It seems more. Like some of the fights are quite epic already and quite cool. I don't think there's one fight I've done so far where I've sat there and gone, I hate that. I did miss Brackenstraw, I'm afraid. That was the one fight I was really looking forward to, and I missed the thing.
But, to be honest, I feel that's the simplest fight. The fights that we'll get there eventually.
But so you start off with Bladefist, and Bladefist, it's a cool fight. So you're fighting one of the things. I'm not going to give any spoilers about what happens, but you fight him to the death, and it's.
You think?
You think? And it's a pretty cool introduction into it, and then that leads on to now. This is a bit I wanted to ask because I've not paid. This is one thing. You know me. I'm the ultimate slacker.
Yes, you are.
I haven't paid for it. There isn't actually a set order, is there? You can do them in like random orders.
Well, you have Kargath Bladefist. You have to do him first, because
you have to do him first. That's
you go into the arena first when you enter the High Mall instance. But after that, Tectus, the Butcher, and Brackenspore are all optional bosses, because you can actually decide to just go right ahead to Twin Ogron and skip the other 3.
Ah, okay.
So, yes, they are actually optional and skippable. And to be honest, if you compare Tectus with Twin Ogron, for example, Twin Ogron is easier, I would say.
Yeah.
So you could actually decide to do the Twin Ogron before you tackle Tectus, because we'll get to Tectus because I have some complaints there about people. Surprise there. But Tectus is actually a pretty good challenge.
It is. Like the second fight is the Butcher, and that is, as you said, the second fight the way we did it is the Butcher. That's the DPS check. It's
a 5-minute enrage timer, and
is it 5 minutes?
Yes, it's 5 minutes, and the
average 6 minutes.
DPS.
He's the patchwork-esque boss, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and his average DPS, this was calculated by someone, that you have to do per player is 20k DPS. So this will actually test if your DPS are capable of playing. To put it very bluntly, are they capable players or not?
Yeah, it's a very simple fight. It's DPS intensive, but it's also quite intensive on the healers. The healers have to heal quite. They have to use the brains a bit about how they heal, just like that. So it is sort of standing 2 groups do this. There's a ranged group and it's pretty simple. The damage, one group takes damage up to 4 stacks. Swap over to the other group. It is all based on numbers, and it's quite simple to do.
Yeah.
But it is a DPS race. Near the end of it, when it gets 30%, because you have had to have done quite a bit of healing by then. It does get a bit touchy here and there. I'm not going to boast and say we did it amazingly clean.
I don't think we've done any of the bosses amazingly clean yet.
Tectus.
Eventually. No, there were a few deaths.
Yeah, I lagged out.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's why I died.
Yeah. As clean as possible then.
It was clean as possible. I was there for emotional support.
Emotional
we were breaking down all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for that support.
Really does something to your psyche. I mean, you need a counselor like Matt there.
You know, I'm always there to help. But once we did Butcher, we went on to Tectus, and Tectus is. I really like the fight, and it's quite simple in the fact that you've got the range group. The way we did it anyway, you have the range group. Stand at ranged. When one ability happens, you go left. When the other ability happens, you go right. Very simple. But it is sort of making people move. And I think most people will say any time you make people move in this game is when you find out the people who pay attention to tactics, who pay attention to what they're doing, and the people who don't.
Yeah,
and that is the premise that you've got. Say we had a couple of issues with it, with things, but we did it again on pretty much, I think, we one-shot it the next day when everyone's mind was clear and mind was happy. And
yes, but we did have to reduce the amount of players in our team, at least for Tectus, to kill it.
Yeah.
Because and this is where my complaints come in about people in general. some
People in general.
yes, people.
Not
in
you,
general.
viewers, because we love you.
No, not you, but some raiders who apparently don't find it a valid reason to not to be sad. If you can't kite some clouds after 2 hours of wiping on Tectus, I'm sorry, but no. In progress raiding, you should be able to pick up new things, even though kiting isn't a new thing at all. You should be able to pick them up even after an hour, I would say.
Yeah, it's fairly simple. It's not the most hard. It's not hard in tactics. It's a very simple fight. You do this, you kite that. The difficulties everyone knows. You first kill it once, and it's like, oh, that's nice and easy. I like a couple of ads to make it a bit more interesting, but it's nice, not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Then he splits into two. You're like, you bastard. I've already killed you once.
Yeah.
Then you get
like,
double
oh my
the
god,
abilities.
that was easy. No, it's not. It
No,
just
it's
became double as hard.
I'm back. And then he said, all right, then I'll kill that one. And then he quadruples. You bastard.
And then you have to deal with 5 at the same time. 5 clouds. Oh my god.
It's 5 at the same time. Each one doing the exact same abilities. Each one possibly having their tremor at the same time. It's a fun fight. Really enjoyed it. We had to slim the numbers down, but one shot it, no trouble whatsoever. We should have. It is way
Was the one shot
easier
or
than
2 shot. I think a 2 shot or something. It was
one
quick
shot.
anyway. Yeah, one shot the next day. I sacrificed myself, so that's why we killed it.
You're
now,
not even a gnome.
I
What's
know.
wrong?
Unfortunately, I have a very strange issue at the moment with WoW, and I'm looking into it. Let me tell you both this. This is amazing. I've sent a ticket to Blizzard.
Wow, you actually did something.
Do you want to know what the average, and this is for everyone listening, do you want to know the average wait time on my ticket is?
4 hours, 4 days, 18 hours.
11 days, 19 hours
Wow.
is the average wait time
So that's 1.5 weeks basically.
on my ticket.
I'm not sure if the time if the time that it shows in game for tickets is accurate though, because
It might not be.
they tweet out every couple of days what the average wait time for tickets is.
Yeah,
and
I just found it funny.
Yeah.
It's one of those
pretty
moments sitting
silly.
there going, yeah, it's one of those moments sitting there going, well, I've got an issue. It might get fixed eventually.
Sure.
Someday, once upon a time.
One day. So I did miss Bracken. I've read I've looked at the videos. It looks really fun. You get. So you two can do a bit more about what happens, and LJ can talk a bit more because I'm ranting and raving as normal.
Yes, sure.
That's why
LJ.
he can fight you, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. So, Brackenspore is, well, for us, then the 4th boss. And he was pretty simple, at least tactics-wise, compared to some of the other fights.
He was pretty simple, especially for a healer standpoint. He was pretty interesting as well with the mushrooms, the spores that you have to heal up, which is quite interesting. I mean, it brings a new layer to the fight because then you can basically you have the 2 spores. One that will, if you heal it up, it will heal others, and another that if you heal it up, it will increase mana regen and do something else, increase haste, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
And in a small circle around it, so you have to stand in it, of course. But I think it's really nice for a healer standpoint because it is a pretty intense fight, pretty healer intense. Not as intense as Twin Ogron though, because that shit is okay. But yeah, it's nice that they added a couple of things like that. You know, you can just spend your mana, and even if you're almost depleted of your mana, you can just stand in the spore, and it'll give you most back. I think like how much did it give you back, Matt? Like half, 3/4?
Unfortunately, as you know.
Oh, you were out.
Yeah, I didn't want to risk it then, so I went downstairs, sulked for a bit, reset the router, and came back. And I think you just killed that when I said, I'll test my computer out. I know what I'll do. I'll do heroic just to test out to make sure it's not bugging anymore. I then spent 40 minutes in slag mines because they wanted to wait for heroism on every beeping boss.
Oh, that's
anyway. Anyway,
I want to feel sorry for you, but then again, I don't.
Want to feel something messy? That's already too much for you. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's because you're a soulless bastard.
Yes.
Yeah. So, no, I really enjoyed Brackenspore also with the flamethrowers and such. I know the takes a little bit, but I don't. I always just try to focus on the healing bit, but otherwise my head will explode with all the tactics. But Yeah, I just like I said, it was Tectus was for me the first boss that that reintroduced me to raiding again after well, I quit in Throne of Thunder halfway through, so I think like that's what 1.5, 2 years, so
Yeah, probably.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I did some raiding like on casual lower levels, like I've said plenty of times in this podcast, but it was really good to get back because it
He
really
was
felt
a
like a lot of fun.
casual. He
I
was
was a
one of
casual,
them.
but you have to be on both sides of the fence to know how it is, huh? So I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Bracket Sport, the Twin Ogron. I mean, now we're on what's his name, Korag.
Korag, yeah.
I mean, I'm really enjoying it again. I really like what they're doing at the moment, and I really like the instance so far. It really gives a Burning Crusade-esque feeling.
Mhm.
Not so
Yeah.
much the tactics as such, but just the setting and such. So yeah.
Well, so from there, from Brackensport, you do go to Twin Ogron, and I came into Twin Ogron after about I think you just started Twin Ogron, and again, it's one of those fights that's emphasis on movement. It's not a massive. I don't think it's a massive DPS race. We were never that particularly that close. We were never particularly that close to Enrage, but unfortunately, and everyone will say this, as a lot of DPS gets, must get rank, must do this, must DPS as much as I can, must ignore tactic. They stood in the fire, and
The fire,
they were
the
dead
whirlwind,
DPS.
the ceiling coming crashing down on you,
Silver
all the
eyes.
things there. I mean, I've also stood a couple times in the fire, but luckily I have bubbles, so I can save myself
Yeah.
at least once from it. And I then switched to more tank healing, so there were a couple of positions that I should stand in, so I didn't die as much as before. But I mean, for melee, I know it's pretty horrible. I mean, such fights. There's a lot of stuff going on in a very small space that you have to stand in. I mean, I've been there. It's horrible. But sometimes the amount of people sometimes were dying. I mean, even I'm saying it now, and that's pretty horrible.
yeah, I will say we had certain issues. Blah blah blah. I even came in and I was there for 4 tries. You know, change it around in 4 tries. And
Why keep on fighting him?
the first 3.
I don't know.
The first 3 tries, and I said
Drop
I'll just
from call.
I'll just DPS because there's no point in me healing, because I was worried about my slight issue with my computer. Don't know what it is. Someone can tell me. It just doesn't work on raiding sometimes. And with Garrison anyway. So I went there. First 3 tries, I was just running around going, maybe DPS was competitive. It wasn't the best because I'm not the best DPS in the guild, but it wasn't the worst. And I was running around, and as I said, I went, I know people keep getting hit by fire, but I said, I've done 3 tries now and I've not been hit once. And there was a couple of sarky comments about, oh yeah, Druid's not on the good. But I said, yeah, but still, I said, it's not that hard not to get hit by fire. And I don't know if it had an effect, but I do think that suddenly a couple of people's DPS came down a little bit, but they stayed alive. And we did it. And ironically, I died the next try to fire. Whee!
Yay. Because that's how it
You
goes.
jinxed it.
I knew it was going to happen. I even thought about it just before, and it was one of those situations where, and the fire, it's not. This is for people who've done it and they know, it's not a fire that it goes in a very specific pattern. It goes in a bit of a random pattern, and I
doesn't move from the front or the back, but more from the middle.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's very
how
snake-like.
Yeah,
really
and
good.
I unfortunately this time I moved out of it, but that's the way it sort of followed me, and I got a couple of ticks. I thought no, and I've got Displacer Beast on my druid, so I used that to get out of it. Unfortunately, as I blinked, the boss jumped to where I was and whirlwind as well. I was like,
Karma.
was
Karma
like-
just bit you in the ass.
I was like, yeah, oh, that's got me.
Mhm.
But then we killed it. Literally, the rest of the fight, I think one more person died, and it's quite a simple fight. It's a nice fight. There's a lot of little things going on. There's mechanics now. I like that fight. Again, it's movement heavy, and
Yeah.
I think that's sort of the vibe you get from most bosses in this dungeon. The only one,
I hate it so far, to be honest.
The only one-
That's the only thing I hate.
but the only one that isn't movement heavy that we've done so far is Butcher. That's not movement heavy at all.
No.
It's very standard tank and spank. You've
It's
got
patchwork for Warlords.
yeah, it's patchwork for Warlords. The only added
That's 6.0.
the only added thing to it is you have to have 2 groups set up, and whichever melee group has the most people in it, it'll do an attack on that side. So you just judge it based on that. Hunters go in sorted, no issues whatsoever. 4 stacks, brilliant. Then you get to, I can't pronounce the one beginning with K. Korgoth, is it?
Korog?
Korog, there we go. And that was the 5th one. Now, I like that fight. Again, movement heavy. And the other day, we went down, it was not for the fact that we shouldn't, it was just people, unfortunately, not paying attention.
Not, again, following tactics.
Yes. And I like that fight. It's a really cool fight. There's a lot of things to take into account. Again, move from stuff. Oh, person next to me has been targeted by a boss. Let's stand next to where he hits. Oh, dead. Every fight so far, I don't think I've yet got to a fight I don't like. And there isn't a fight so far which, and you may disagree with this, but lives in the land of RNG.
I would agree with that, because even, for example, the Twin Ogron, people were complaining about how their boss mods weren't lining up, but you just have to watch the energy. The energy shows exactly what they're going to do. Just like Korog, just watch the shield, how much it has left, and you will know exactly what's going to happen.
And it is, so even take the boss mods out of it, there doesn't seem to be, like, there was a few fights in, I think, Ogrimmar, that were a bit RNG based, and it used to get a bit, oh god, here we go again. But I really did enjoy it. I've enjoyed every fight so far, and I do enjoy Korog. We'll down it later on without a doubt, and then we've got up to the. Well, I don't know. Well, LJ, what do you think of Korog?
I enjoy it. I think it's like you said. I mean, I like that they try to remove as much RNG from fights as possible, because I mean, there's always like a percentage of RNG. I mean, I know there's like the energy as such, but it's also like how the fire is going to move and such. I mean, but they try to keep it to a minimal, which I really think is great, because Mist of Pandaria had too much RNG for. I mean, it was just insane sometimes.
There was a lot of fights with the whole thing, weren't there? Were about, I can't even remember off.
I can't remember it.
Blank every fight out of my head.
Same here.
And yes, you can say a bit of RNG, but there's group RNG that might still happen by who gets targeted by what. Oh god, they're targeted again. Oh poo. Being harsh, but you know what I mean. There's that type of RNG. But every fight doesn't seem too bad. I'm really looking forward to taking this into Mythic. Luckily, it'll be slightly smaller numbers. People have to up the game, but
I'm really enjoying it so far. Especially like the Korag fight is not that bad. I think it's pretty fun. Though, like you said, like we talked about before, Paladins were always very static healers. We can't move that much, but nowadays we can't move at all, basically. But when we want to do some healing and moving, all we can do is Holy Shock, basically.
Well, that is one thing someone actually said about me, and people can post this. On Butcher, you weren't there for Butcher, but a couple of people did say that a Resto Paladin on that fight would be absolutely brilliant.
A Resto Paladin?
Yeah, I shapeshifted.
You know what I mean. Holy Paladin. Hey, Resto, Holy, same thing.
Resto, instead of we don't throw leaves to heal people, we throw pages out of our holy book to heal people, and just throw books at people and heal them.
And cast judgment on people.
Yeah,
but but that's what I like about the Korag fight so much. It's not that movement heavy. Of course, there's some things like the charge, and I'm not sure what the actual
There's
name
a couple
of
of things.
There's a couple of things that you have to watch out. You have to, like with the fire, don't stand next to your neighbor, because then you'll blow each other up. I mean, stuff like that. It's pretty easy, but it's just
pretty WoW-esque.
Yes, it's WoW-esque. The main aspect of this fight is when he targets someone to do a smash, he leaves a void zone on there, basically, and that's where. In the second phase, there's a shield where designated people, I'm going to say this again, hopefully people from the raid later on may listen to this sentence. Designated people stand in the shield. We get them completely spam healed, and they get a big shield, and then they basically soak stuff and that needs to be soaked, so damn, we don't die. And while that's happening, the rest of the raid are trying to pull the ads that spawn into these void zones and kill them in the void zones. So you keep everything you can to trap them in there, nuke them down, brilliant, hunky dory, done. That was the only times where you were up the other day. The good tries were going brilliant, fine, and then unfortunately the wrong person would get the shield, but then they'd realise that they were the wrong person.
Yes,
and run out straight away.
Move
and then run
out
out straight away.
before
Like,
the shield disappears.
So, yeah.
Melee.
melee.
Yes.
So
melee.
fair enough. But so that's going to be a fun fight, and then we're moving on to the fight, which I know a little about, but haven't done. I think everyone is probably witnessed it in one way.
The Imperator.
Yes.
We haven't done him yet, but he has 4 phases and 2 intermission phases. Oh dear God.
It's gonna be fun.
Yes, I'm glad I'm going to be doing the normal run in 37 minutes to already get a feel for it. But that's going to be fun. I imagine that we will be raiding on the extra night tomorrow to clear it.
Yeah, if needed, because you can do it on 10 man, can't you? So
yes, you can.
You can, if needed, it will be cleared this week. Stuff like that, no matter what, which is fair enough. I have a random idea for later, but I don't think anyone will like it. So
we don't like you anyway, so it's okay.
But I can tell you after the raid. This isn't a thing for this. But
let me guess. It involves name calling.
No, it doesn't actually.
Oh,
it might do. I'll involve name calling just for a laugh. But overall, very good first impression. If that's how everything's going to go, the next few, and they've set quite a high standard with the first raid, I think, this time. Mythic's going to be interesting because this is only heroic or normal.
Yeah.
Normal, heroic.
Let's call it with the names of warlords. We are in warlords now, so this is heroic.
So it's heroic. Normal. Yes. But no, so we talk about the RNG. Are we going to get to a stage in Mythic where we sort of sit there going, I hate this place now? Which sometimes happens. Sometimes the first impact. I actually remember when we talked through Ogrimmar for the first time. Now, the reason everyone hates Ogrimmar is we did it for a year and a half or something like that. To be fair, 14 months. When we very first did Ogrimmar, it wasn't that bad. I can remember.
With you.
Well, no, the Immersius fight was pants. But the rest of the fights weren't that bad. I can remember we all had chats about it back then, and we thought, it's not too bad. It's all this. But then as soon as you got like a month into it, you were just thinking, I really can't. Some of the fight, the worst fight in that place for me isn't Immersius.
It's
Galacras.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, here you go. You've done this last week. Let's go for another 25 years of ads that do no damage at all.
Well, here's
in the end, we were dancing. I danced most of the last month of Ogrimmar on Galacras.
Yeah. Well, of course, last month was with the pre-patch nerfs. I mean, that was why they didn't add a gong like in one of the 5-man instances to make waves come quicker. I'll not understand. But the thing with Orgrimmar is, there were 2 things for me. After 3 months, I was already bored of it. The fights were not interesting for the long run. And the second part of it was lots and lots and lots of abilities. And instead of having a few meaningful ones, you just got bombarded by abilities, by ads. And some fights had the same types of ads, just for quote-unquote complexity. It was shite.
Because I'm trying to think now about this place and comparing it, but if you actually look at every fight, there's very defined... I think one problem, a lot of the spells that happened on Siege of Orgrimmar were never going to wipe you.
No.
They were there to add another complexity. So if you... Basically, in Orgrimmar, if you fucked up continuously, you would wipe. Even in Mythic in the end, if you messed up continuously, you would wipe, and that was it. Whereas with this, if you mess up once, like if you mess up kiting on certain fights. You can actually kill 3 or 4 people due messing up to the kiting. If you mess up on Kargoth going up onto the platform, into the stands, that can actually hinder the fight. So every single way that, if you're not precise, I know this is silly saying, but if you're not precise in most of the things on this, it punish you a little bit more than Orgrimmar did.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The raid design that I like is not many mechanics. Mechanics that are there matter. If you don't execute them well, you'll wipe. Or you can make a mistake once, you won't wipe, but it'll get a lot harder to finish the fight still.
Yeah.
And really just a more simpler approach. Like the Burning Crusade. I'm sorry, but you
TBC. TBC. TBC.
Now, here's the thing. They've gone a bit away from bombarding you with mechanics, and I hope that stays that way. We've only seen 6 out of the 7 fights in Heimdall. We have 10 fights to go in Blackrock Foundry. So, for this tier, there's still plenty of opportunity for Blizzard to completely screw the pooch.
Oh, we know. Well, I think it depends, because by the looks of it, I need to read the tactics and everything fully again on the last boss, because my knowledge is
it's complex.
It's complex, and I'll read it just before. I'll read it probably an hour before the raid, so it has time to sink in. Yeah. So I know what I'm doing and stuff like that. I've read it before, but again, it's just easier to do it before. That's my like of it anyway. And it is complex, but as you said, they've sort of every other fight in the place isn't like, I think Orgrimmar. Every fight got slightly more complex by the time. Like even you got the last, was it 3 bosses? Just took the piss. Basically, you had Siege. You had the Siege Crafter, and how many abilities did he have? He had tank switching abilities, tanking abilities, mines, fucking lasers, belt, kiting,
freaking lasers,
man.
Yeah.
And then you got onto the Klaxi, and it's like, well, we thought you had 25 million abilities in the last fight. Have 45 million abilities on this fight. You sit there and go, Jesus Christ. And it almost felt like...
I did realise I joined this Siege of Orgrimmar complaint hour again.
Yeah, I
know. Well, let's go away from Orgrimmar. I have 2 questions for you guys about Heimdall so far.
Yeah.
One being the item level difference between getting gear and starting raiding. How does that feel? I mean, it's a pretty big difference. It's between the, let's say, 20 and 40 item levels, depending on how much gear you bought/got.
I don't want to make Matt feel bad, but I think it's pretty retarded, because it's really way out there at the moment. I mean, I'm replacing everything left, right, and center, and I mean, I'm thinking, like, I can craft new epics for myself, but why would I do it? It's only 640, while I can get a 670 item this week or maybe next week or whatever.
Yeah, I know we had this chat about profession stuff last week.
Yeah.
But me and LJ actually spoke about it this week, and after doing the first raid, it makes me feel in a way that I've wasted all I feel like I should have done is farm a few more heroics, got the Warforged versions of the stuff I've got my 640 items in.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, you'll get better stats anyway for what you need, and just sell my items, because it just feels a bit of a waste. Because by the time I manage to get the stuff to upgrade to 665, I'm going to be probably full 670.
Probably.
And yes, I know what you said last week. You can sell the burning and stuff like that. Fair enough, you can. Not everyone's going to be doing the heroic, but it is normal version. I don't know. It just feels a little bit at the moment. Stuff, and it just feels. I think Nath in our guild, she actually said that she had her bracers for 2 days. Now she actually upgraded her bracers. She brought all the bloods, upgraded her bracers, and she had them for 2 days. Replaced them on the first day of the raid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it makes that aspect of it a bit bitter to swallow.
Yeah.
But and the thing is, you look at the stats on a lot of the crafted items. what I'd prefer them to do is probably put a little bit more thought into the items and maybe have, because you get the 2 secondary stats, maybe have, say, one of the stats random and one of the stats on the item all the time. So say I'm a druid, haste, we still live on haste. So if you could have bought, there may have been more recipes to buy. Fair enough, I understand. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to get all the recipes by doing my daily every day. That's not going to change.
Yeah.
So I'd prefer to have probably a little bit more choice on the items you can get. So maybe just have one standard, have the same item, but with a standard secondary on, or like with haste, crit, and all that type of stuff. And then the multi-strike, spirit, and all that type of stuff is the random aspect of it. That to me would have been a little bit better, because then, luckily, I got lucky on a couple of my rerolls. If you know what I mean, I got haste, and I managed to reroll my chest piece to get haste and mastery.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
You didn't get bonus armor.
No, I didn't get bonus armor. Hey, I've got an amazing staff with. I need to find it now. Where is it? Avoidance.
Well, that's a tertiary stat, so that's fine.
I know. I've got 139 haste, 109 mastery, and 110 avoidance. To go with a necklace I have with avoidance.
Well, it means you're going to take slightly reduced AoE damage. Well done.
Woo!
So, yeah, I have to agree with it. Just feels silly replacing the profession items then instantly. All that work pretty much
for
down
nothing.
the drain. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, my argument again, what item level is the normal? Is it 650?
655?
So 655.
Yeah, 655.
So by going through a normal raid, which people I know that spent nowhere near the amount of effort that I put in, and this is being biased towards me, and you two will probably agree on what I'm about to say. I put a lot of it. I was behind a couple of days, 3 days behind leveling. So the amount of effort I put in to catch up to get, I think when I started raids, I was at 343, I think 344 item level.
344, or do you mean 644?
644, sorry. Yeah. 344 item level raiding.
Couple expansions back, Matt.
Yeah, you know, not just missed a couple of expansions now. So I was at 644, which was decent. I think it would have been not far. It wasn't the top in the guild, because I know it was the top in the guild. Jesus.
The amount of gold he must have spent. He had almost 665 in every slot.
Just so you know, one of our guild members called Rolf is Bacon Squire.
Square.
Well, meant to be Squirrel, but he couldn't. He forgot the L.
Yeah, but he doesn't got the L, so I mean Square.
Bacon Squire.
Bacon Squire.
Squire.
Item level before we started raiding was 655, which is absolutely insane.
Yep.
He spent.
I'm pretty sure he has the gold cap though.
He has the gold cap, so it doesn't really bother. He actually spent 220k, I think, on his items.
That's cheap.
Did really well. He got a lot of very cheap deals, but still, like he had that, but he spent loads. So I'm happy. I got 644, I think, item level for starting raiding. Yet, and with everything's been replaced straight away. And there's another in our guild. There's 2 or 3 items we just thought we won't go for that yet, because the way it is as well. This I'm not enjoying the way that the loot system works. The gear system works now. From my first experience in the raid, is the fact that they put the intellect and agility on there. It's lazy.
Really?
No, I don't. I just think it. Before,
no.
It's yes and no. It's all right when you've got 1 or 2 people wanting an item. I know they want to stop this having shed loads to DE and stuff like that. But when for a lot of the raid you're going to have probably 10 people wanting one item.
Sure, at the start.
At the start, but it's still.
It's better than no one wanting it.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see the point in it, but yeah, it's all right. It's not amazing for me.
I really like the system with both primary stats being on a leather or mill or plate item, because it allows. It allows for easier rerolls as well. We're at the start of the expansion right now. We have a full roster, but we've been known for tank troubles. Let's say that happens. If we didn't have the agility intellect or strength intellect stuff, then we might not have someone to respect the tank
Yeah,
quickly.
there is that.
And
Yeah,
still have
true.
the appropriate gear for us to keep going, so we don't have to stop raiding or have to go to a level lower for the week.
Yeah.
So I think the primary stat system for the current gear is amazing. It's going to save so much headaches. So yes, at the start right now, sometimes 10 people need the same item.
Yeah, I think
But
at the
that'll-
start it's annoying, but yeah, it will get better. It will get all right.
Especially add in the fact that we have the bonus loot rolls. People are going to get gear from that. So the amount of people that need something is going to go down pretty quickly, except on things like trinkets. But trinkets, at the start of the raid tier, have always been a problem.
Ugh,
Yeah. True.
So
yeah.
we've already negated a lot of trouble via the primary stat system on gear. Yeah, I'm sorry, I completely disagree with you. It solves a lot of problems that, well, don't have to be problems anymore.
I don't. Yeah, I can see that point. It's just annoying. It's not,
But
when you
now
were
you're
leather,
just loot oriented. You loot.
Yeah. when you were leatherworking, you've got monks and those dirty rogues
Yeah.
and everything as well. It gets quite annoying after a while.
Yeah, so the second question I had, and let's start with LJ, is we've had two progression systems now. We've had, for example, tier 11 in Cataclysm, where we had to progress through normal mode first, completely progress, taking a couple of weeks, and then progressing again on heroic for a couple of weeks, months, whatever.
Yeah.
In Mist of Pandaria, we had clear normal mode in first week, no problem. Go into heroic mode to start actual progress in the second week. So far, Warlords feels, partly probably because of the massive gear difference between 5-man and raiding, is that you need to progress more per fight, but it feels a lot less that you need to progress compared to Cataclysm, for example. Which system do you prefer? The easy face roll in MoP, or the complete progress of Cataclysm, or this halfway point in Warlords?
Well, I mean, complete phrase roll is always fun, but no, I'm enjoying it so far as it is now. To be honest, I mean, I get why Blizzard would want to, chop the progress up into little bits and pieces, but I think that's more like covering their own behinds. Like, we don't have that much content. Like, they probably have learned from Siege of Oakenborn now. Like, letting people play that 1.5 years is just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to, find a good middle way, which I think is going pretty well so far. Just to let people decide for themselves what they want to do. I get the systems that they want, but as far as I'm concerned, this system is probably so far one of the best that they have implemented, and that we can use, that we can do. So yeah.
So add to
No,
that.
no, Matt. No, no.
You'll get to go in a minute, Matt. But add to that Mythic opens next week. Let's say
Yeah.
we have to use the extra raid tomorrow on Monday. We usually raid 3 days, but we have the extra 4th on Monday to clear heroic.
Yeah.
I feel that next week, even though Mythic opens, we still should clear heroic first before going into Mythic, despite being a progress-oriented guild, because it's already, a good challenge on heroic.
Oh, it definitely is, and I think there's definitely room for improvement. But if you can clear an instance the first week on heroic, I think that pretty much says that the team you have is pretty capable. I know Mythic is still 20 man, and we're rating with 30-ish
Yeah,
at the
between
moment.
25 and 30.
Exactly. So I mean, that makes it a little bit more different and maybe easier. But it's still, I think it's still good to at least try Mythic, see how far we get. Maybe maybe see how far we get in 1 week, and after that we can decide. Well, okay, we can do maybe the first 2 bosses on Mythic first. I mean, we can do, I don't know, probably not the Butcher because that's a DPS fight.
Yeah.
But maybe the first one,
Your bracket score,
Kargath,
probably.
Yeah.
bracket spore maybe. So like maybe 2 or 3 bosses we can get down, because that's awesome gear to have. Plus also good for the progress. And after that, I don't know, switch it back to heroic.
Probably. We need the gear.
Well,
Exactly.
Yeah, there's another way of doing it, which not my comment on how easy the stuff is part of our. It should be face roll. Yes, it's a challenge, but at the moment, you look at most of our issues, and they've not been due to a lot of it hasn't been due to the content being stupidly hard. It's just been due to individual mistake. Unfortunately, that has been our personal experience. There's been a lot of individual mistakes. Those individual mistakes have been catalysed. That's why we've been a bit delayed in progress. A lot of the fights we should have killed earlier. End of. We should have killed Tactus first night, no issues whatsoever. Then all of a sudden, you mentioned one thing, and it took us an extra 20 minutes to sort of task it. That's out of the way. Regarding the progression, there's 2 ways you can do it. Yes, we can do a couple of mythic bosses, or again, then there you've got 25 people in the guild. You can easily get 2 groups that should be able to do it on heroic, because less people should be simpler. That's one way of doing it. Is mix one night, have 2 groups go in, blitz the place, hunky dory, all done. But we'll see.
Okay. Any closing comments, thoughts, anything really on rating so far?
Good. It's fun. I enjoy it.
On the whole, I like it.
Sounds pretty much the same for me. It's been stressful for me because I don't know why I volunteered, but I guess we need the progress to raid lead the start.
Because you're weird. Just accept it.
Probably. No. Well, maybe.
Yes, sadistic in slight way.
Yes, well, the thing is, if we didn't have the structure, then we wouldn't have as many guides as well. So,
True.
partly selfish in that regard for WoW Weekly. We need the footage. Which, in fact, I'm just going to say right here and right now, because it might be easier that way. If there's any high progress guild that would like their footage to be used for guides, because our progress isn't as fast as I would like it to be, let us know in the comments and let me know how I can contact you to perhaps use your footage for guides so we can get more out quickly. We currently have 5 out of 7 for normal/heroic. I kind of wanted it to be 7 out of 7 already, so it would be nice to have perhaps another source which kills bosses quicker than us, so we can get the guides out quicker.
Yeah.
Which would be really good. Now, I can't really pay you for that or anything, but it's maybe at least some promotion for your guild. Something to consider.
Be friendly.
Yes, exactly. So, that aside, that pretty much covers the podcast for this week. So, thank you very much for watching/listening. Thanks to my co-hosts for joining me. If you want to keep up with us, you can check out our content at wowweekly.net. We have raid guides, obviously. We've kind of been mentioning that today. But we also have follower location guides, rare location guides, regular WoW news, stuff like that.
LJ, where can you get this information?
I already
I
said
don't
that,
know.
Matt. Right. My co-hosts are now fired, but that aside. Just kidding. You're doomed. You're never leaving.
Oh, God.
Anyway. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/WoWweekly or twitter.com/bmezzy. Anything else? I think that's it. So, once again, thank you very much for watching. I'm Mezzy, and we'll see you again next time.